Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I am officially back from my trip, my little trip down to Sydney. I ran the Sydney Marathon on Sunday. It was a fantastic day, fantastic course. Even though it was like this, it was quite an experience to say the least. I did really well. For those of you that are wondering how I did, my Strava says 2 hours and 40 minutes, but my official time says 2 hours and 52 minutes. So we'll just go with the official time, although I love bragging about the Strava time, but nevertheless, the reason why I was releasing videos at particular times is because I had to pre-record because I wasn't able to do it. 3 days of not being able to record any videos for you, so I just made sure that I had at least one video scheduled in advance for you guys. And then you know what? Sunday rolls around and we do the marathon, and then pretty much the next morning what do I see? Yeah, another assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. So we'll get to that. But first, I want to share with you guys the marathon. So here's a couple of photos for you. This is me after the event. I felt great. My legs were terrific. I mean, I've been coming back from ITB and a Baker's cyst at the back of my knee when I ran my first marathon on the Gold Coast and did fairly well on the Gold Coast too. I did 2 hours and 57 minutes, I think it was, for the Gold Coast while dealing with ITB. I ran with ITB. So it's not advisable you do that, but I did. I just sucked up the pain and did really well doing that. And then the Sunny Coast one, I was not feeling great. I was tired. My legs were fatigued and didn't really want to do it. I did 3 hours and 9 minutes for that one. And then I was like, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to go with Sydney because Sydney is like mostly uphill and a little bit of downhill. It's quite hilly. And I didn't really feel confident in my ability to conquer the hills because I hadn't really been doing much hill training because of since my injury. When you do ITB and the Baker cyst, it's not advisable you go downhill or uphill because it hurts like hell. It hurts like hell to run at all, but going up and downhill, it's just a lot worse. So my training didn't include a lot of hills because I didn't want to re-aggravate it or anything like that. So I was also trying to be very cautious and careful during my training period. So I didn't go over and above. Like my runs, I would only do probably 21 Ks max. I mean, on my 28th birthday, I did 28 Ks and felt pretty good doing that. But nevertheless, I just wanted to be as smart and as wise as I possibly could going into this race. But here's me after the race again, just showing off a little bit there with the Opera House at my back. And here's me before. I was freezing my actual ass off because it was bloody cold. It was 8 degrees Celsius, but there was wind. So it made it feel like it was literally 4 degrees. You were shivering, but I run with no shirt. So I wasn't going to be a little bitch and complain too much about it. I was just like, you know what? We're going to smile through this. People were just like, when the race began, they were throwing off their jumpers and putting it in the bush somewhere. And I'm like, are you going to get your jumper back? They're like, nah, we bought it for this sake. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. So I ran with my singlet on the side, and then I had a bag drop for later with my Train Aid shirt. So my plan going in was I was going to use gels, but I tried one gel that I bought and it tasted awful. So I spat it out and I was like, no, I'm not going to be using any gels for this run. We'll see how we go. And just had my drink bottle, which, fun fact, kind of looks like piss, but it's not. Believe you me, it's Train Aid hydration, the best stuff in the world. Kid you not, definitely go and get some. I ran the entire marathon with a very fast pace. I didn't use any of the aid stations. I just had this bottle with me. I took a couple of sips during the run. I felt incredible. So it's Train Aid hydration and Train Aid performance. Definitely go get it. So also the event organizers, they did a much better job this year compared to last year. Last year it sucked. The start time was at 7, and it was really hot last year. It was 33 degrees Celsius last year, which, if you know anything about degrees Celsius, 33 degrees, and you're running, it's bloody hot. So it hurts like hell. Anyway, so this year around, they had a different start line, which was okay, except that there were so many people. They let the older people go first for some reason. And so when you went, I was in wave one, which is supposed to be the fastest wave, but nevertheless, it wasn't really, because I was having to try and dodge and weave between all these old people that were running really slow downhill, and you're trying to run past them while not, falling over yourself and not tripping over somebody else. I almost tripped on somebody because they're going so damn slow. Not an old person, by the way, someone else. And I was like fuming. I was not happy at the very start. I was going, come off it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. But everyone's just going, I don't want to go out too fast. I'm going to pace myself. I'm just going to jog down this hill ever so lightly. And here I am just flying down it, trying not to die. And there was a moment where I ended up doing 2Ks at Kipchoge's pace, mostly downhill. I was literally flying. I'm not kidding. I felt like I was soaring through the air. It was that good. But anyway, the toilet situation, I know everyone's worried. If you haven't done a marathon before, the toilet situation is always the fun part. Now, I wisened up and I got smarter this year around, because last year I stayed at a place trying to save money. I stayed at a place that was over an hour away from the start line, and not a wise decision, especially if you need, like, you're drinking a ton of water beforehand and your body just needs to go to the toilet, all the time. So I wisened up and I'm going, all right, I need to be smart about this. I ended up staying in the city. And even still, like, the start line was still over an hour away, but it was a shorter distance for me to travel. So in terms of like train lines and things like that. So I ended up making a much better plan, and it worked out in my favor, because I was at the hotel the majority of the time that I need to use the bathroom. And, you got to flush everything out to make sure that you got no stomach issues when you're running and not having to make any pit stops. So anyway, the run was fantastic. I felt incredible the entire run, except for the downhill moments after the 30K mark. So a lot of it, yes, was uphill, which I loved, and I blitzed. I just flew up those damn hills. But then going down the hill after the 30K mark, my legs were just buggered to all hell. Like, I was struggling to go downhill. I was still flying down the hill, but I was feeling every single pound in my knees and my thighs. My thighs were just in absolute agony running down those hills. Once it sort of evened itself out a little bit, my legs started to feel good again. But every single time, because so much pressure is being put on the front of your knees and as well as your thighs, and it's creating all that pain. Like, so, and there was like this last big hill at the 40K mark and the 41K mark, which is like the last FU moment. Like, you push, but guess what? FU, your legs are tired. It's a big hill that you've got to climb before you get to the end. And the end, I kid you not, it was like about a K or 800, 1.2 Ks of just downhill. It was flat, but you don't want it to be downhill and then it levels out. You want it to be even because if you're going downhill, you can't feel your legs and you're trying to finish. So you're trying to sprint to the finish line, but the amount of agony that you're in, also the endorphins, everything are just flying through your brain. It's a world of feelings just piling up. And once you finish, you stop. And the moment you stop, your legs are just screaming in agony. They're like, well, what have you done to me? So that's what happened to me. But nevertheless, it was a pretty incredible event. I loved every minute of it. I hope that it becomes a major. There's, I think, 6 majors at the moment, and they wanted to make Sydney a major, but I think if they end up making Sydney a major, it would be an incredible achievement. Sydney is just on the rise. It really is. It was great to be back in Sydney. I really did miss it. It was my home that I grew up there for 26 years of my life before moving up north. But hey, I mean, I thought it was a great time, and I am excited for next year. But I won't be doing 3 marathons next year. I don't think, at least not in the way I did it. And I'm going to be training a lot smarter. So anyway, my friends, I thought I'd give you guys a recap of my third and final marathon for this year. But anyway, you guys take care. You blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.